Alright, time for the comic reviews. We get right into it. There's not really much of an introduction, other than this is not all of them, obviously. I don't think it ever will be, but I wanted to finish at least a few of them. A good amount of them. I would honestly say about half of them. And then save the other half for vacation. Because I want to read something on vacation. I'm going to read enough on vacation, but not too much. Because it's bringing a bunch of books. Alright, let's get on to it. And hopefully, I finish enough of the physical books on vacation, so like the last few days or whatever, I'm reading actual Kindle books. Because that is something I have fallen so far behind on. I have a lot of comics downloaded on the Kindle, and I need to start reading them. Alright. First up is Reindeer Boy, and I thought this was just alright. Nice little homage to manga. And because I think this is not technically classified as a manga. My local library, they do their interloans, the website that you go to, the catalog that you go to order books. They have this classified as a graphic novel, but they'll have something like One Punch Man classified as a manga. So if this is a graphic novel, and they'll have One Punch Man classified as a manga. So there is a difference. So that being said, I think this is technically a graphic novel. So as a homage to manga, I think it is pretty good. But it's just like a lot of manga, it just does not grab me, and I think it wouldn't grab a whole lot of manga fans either. It is pretty bizarre. I think it's very bizarre, but it's kind of just like it has this really bizarre plot line, and it really does nothing with it. It just kind of goes through the motions, act like it's a normal thing, and the only real difference is that the main character obviously is not used to this right here, a reindeer boy. Also, the title is pretty self-explanatory, and that's about the only bit of bizarreness in this comic. They don't really go too far beyond that. And I think that's what Cassandra Jean wanted, and if that's the case, then good on her. But I thought it's a very 5 out of 10 comic, and not one I'm eager to read again. Quick read, though. Very quick read. Navigating with You, the surprise. Honestly, if I were to do a surprise of the week, I don't usually do it because there's not a whole lot of surprises. There's books I really like, sure, and that's why I do pick of the week. But as far as surprises of the week go, this takes the cake. Now, I didn't want to say this right away. There's no trans thing that I thought there was going to be in this book, like that whole thing, what do they call it? Body dysphoria. That was not in here. There is a character with a disability, so technically speaking, that is where that comes from. But I don't think it's not the trans thing. I don't think it's an allegory either. But this is a very enjoyable comic. If you like Heartstopper and comics like that, those more like young adult crowd kind of comic, you'll really enjoy this one. Again, it's like kind of like Heartstopper meets Teen Titans, Raven, and all those DC Inc. books that I read once and never read again. Because I have a Teen Titans Raven, I do want to read it again. That is this book. Also, it's pretty long. This took me about 3 days to read. I thought it would take only 1 day, and it was on a weekend too, and it took me like 3 days. 2 of which were school days, sure, or work nights, sure, but still. That's all the OGNs? Oh, actually, no. Because we gotta go. May as well grab this one. So we're going in order of OGNs. Alright, next up we have Upgrade Soul. And this was pretty good. The momentum in the first issue is never really met throughout the rest of the series. So it says go by chapter, so I'm going to say issue. The first issue, it sets up a lot, and it promises to be this, honestly, I thought it would be, a non-stop, but it kind of is a lot of, it slows down the pacing, and the pacing, was perfect in the first issue. The first issue is, the perfect introduction to to a story like this in general. Honestly, if I judge this by the first issue, it would be a 9 out of 10. However, this series continues, and there's a lot of science mumbo jumbo, and it loses me completely, and it's a lot more than it should be. It really, really insistent on telling you exactly how everything works, and all of that stuff, and talking about, we need to get this connected to that, and because this is going to happen, that kind of science mumbo jumbo, and it loses me completely. I feel like stories like this don't do it that much. Yeah, they have it in there, sure, because they have to have it in there, but I feel like it isn't this excessive. And for that, I have to knock it down to a 7 out of 10. Still enjoyable, still liked it. Everything else is good, but really hurts the pacing when it is at least like 14 pages per issue of that in there. And each issue is about like 30 pages, sometimes less. It's almost at least half of each issue is science mumbo jumbo shit. Bad Mother is the next one, and I really dig this one. I think this has first of all the perfect pacing. It is extremely enjoyable, edge of your seat. This needs to be a Netflix or a streaming service miniseries. It will be one of those streaming services that one of those streaming shows that everyone talks about. That's how good Bad Mother is. It's a thrill, more of a thrill ride. It's not groundbreaking or anything like that. You probably will predict the ending or certain elements in this comic, but it does keep your interest. You do want to see how everything works out. And I wouldn't say it's predictable. That was kind of because when I think predictable, I think predictably boring. It is not. It's just kind of like a story like this. It has to follow certain beats, but it still isn't extremely enjoyable because you still do want to know how it's going to end. These types of stories can end two ways, and you're wondering is it going to end the first way or the second way. That is what I'm talking about when I say that it's predictable. Next up is Black, and this one was a lot better. I thought it was a lot better than I felt like this one was better than it was the first time around. First time around, I kind of thought it was kind of boring, and it is. It's very convoluted. I mean, more than it needs to be. A lot happens in just this limited amount of time, like 5 issues. But I still liked it. But it is definitely one of those comics. But I can ignore the political stuff in the comic, but it's excessive here. It definitely is not one of those. It definitely is not one of those books that the critics are overreacting or anything like that. It is exactly the type of book that certain people say, like the new Captain America movie is. That's what they're saying. This is what they're saying is in the new Captain America, but probably isn't. If you catch my drift. Next up is Oswald's Body, and this is another one that I enjoyed a lot more than I did the first time. But the first time, I still enjoyed it, but it felt like it was like the kind of convoluted, where you're starting to lose the plot, and it's starting to get almost like aggravating, if you will, because there is just so much thrown at you, and you feel like if you miss one little detail, you're completely lost. And this does insist on you catching every little detail. But this time around, I really paid attention, and I was glad that I did. And there was no reason not to, because this is extremely investing. It completely captivates you and does not let go until you're done with each chapter. I would say to read by chapter, though. This is one of those books that, yeah, it is captivating, but it does keep you interested. But reading it chapter by chapter is a lot better than reading it all at once, where you have so much information at once. It probably would be too much. I think taking little breaks here and there, maybe like you read something else after, like you read Oswald and you read something else as a little palate cleanser, and then read them back and forth. Also, I skipped the back matter. When it's a whole entire, like, what was a good example of the back matter being excessive? Not always, but I think actually was it right off the bat. Yeah, I'm not reading all that when it's a comic. I already do not like prose in my comics. If it's a really, really, really good comic and it's just letters it would only take me like 5 minutes to read at most, then maybe I'll do that. But just that is just like a part of a novel, and part of I think it was not even a novel, it's part of like a historical text. It just does not interest me. Yeah, it's talking about doppelgangers. No, it's not a history book. A science book. It doesn't interest me. I know what doppelgangers are. I don't need to be reminded of what I already know what they are. So I skipped it. But I was tempted sometimes to not skip it. But some of it's like showing like maps and whatever. I don't need to know a map. I don't need to study a map for a fictional world. Mostly because I don't care. Like, I like that it's there. I like that in The Last God it is included. And in fact, the hardcovers give you like a poster. It's a big fold out and it's the map. That is a neat little novelty. But I'm not going to study the map and be like, I know where every location is in this book. And honestly, that is pretty cool to keep it in there. Because let's say Last God becomes the next Lord of the Rings, where they make it into a very wildly successful trilogy of movies. it will be pretty cool to be like, well, they went 2 paces north and 11 paces east, so now we're in this location. Oh no, the movie says we're actually in this location. So that's a difference, and it's I get that as a novelty. Or like Middle Earth is next to Metropolis in the books, but it's different in the movie. So there's nice little novelties like that I understand. Like you keep track of it, and it's a nice way to make the world feel even more lived in. But I'm not gonna say that Matt Porter really care about it beyond that. Ronin Island, another nice surprise. It's a reread. I honestly want to say I like this more than I did the first time. I think the first time I was expecting it to be geared towards an older audience. This is more T for teen, but even then, I thoroughly enjoyed this comic. Or I still enjoyed it back then. So I thoroughly enjoyed this the second time around, knowing that it's targeted at a younger audience. Not too much, though. Giant Days. Like with every volume before this, since volume 6, this is a series that gets even better. Like just like twice as better each new volume. It adds a lot. There's a lot going on in this comic, but it's a lot going on in the sense that this is like a sitcom made into a comic. So it's following the adventures of these college students as they move to the next year of college, and some move out and some move in, and there's drama between certain characters. It's that kind of stuff. But it's so damn investing. It's just as investing as any other comic that I've read. But this one has no fantastical elements to it or superhero elements to it. It is 100% sitcom type situations. And relatable type situations too. Slam was decent. The first half was really good. Then the second half was a lot of what I didn't like about the first 2 chapters doubled. They doubled down on that, and I was like, well, this started out as a 9 out of 10, and now it's more a 7 out of 10. And I did realize I just forgot to go over the out of 10s, the last few books, so we'll go around at the end, and then I'll do out of 10s. Like a little post-credit scene, if you will. Little treat for those who stay till the end. The Surrogates was awful. 1 star, awful, boring, annoying, a chore to read. It gets a 1 star, and that's all I'm gonna give it. That's all I'm gonna say about it. I don't think I need to say more. No, it's not Philip Kennedy Johnson. Robert Venditti's worst. That's right too. It's a Philip Kennedy Johnson and Robert Venditti. I got so confused because there's a Superman book. I was like, wait, that's Robert Venditti, right? And I just thought, no, it's Philip Kennedy Johnson. No, it's Robert Venditti. And I'm like, wait, Last God, that was Philip Kennedy Johnson, not Robert Venditti. So if I think I did say that when I checked out Surrogates. So hopefully, no, it was D-Day. So D-Day, I said, oh, Robert Venditti, he did Last God. Will this be the Last God of whoopsies? It's Philip Kennedy Johnson. That was a mistake I just realized I made. I hate to say it, but there's a lot of. Is that the 2 like I always get the? Was the 2 names I always got confused? Philip Kennedy Johnson and Robert Venditti. It doesn't make any sense why it would, but I don't know. But the Silencer. This was good, but $8.99 good. This is very half-baked. There's a lot that they explain. There's a lot they explored in here, and I think they need to cut it down. I think we needed more of the family. Maybe like, and honestly, it feels rushed, but still good. I still enjoy it, and I still think it's worth checking out. But don't get it for any more than $8.99. Honestly, they need the whole series for $16.99 for the price of 1. That's a steal, in my book, and you should definitely get it then. So, and I know, and when it says that, and it's I haven't even finished. I haven't finished the series as a whole. I've not finished. I've read the first volume, but not the whole entire series. So, bold of me to assume the series stays consistent throughout. Most do. New Suicide Squad was really good. Just as good as that last issue of the previous volume, which sets this up. It's very like crowd pleasing, action heavy, action packed, investing, that kind of book. That's what this is, through and through. And I just realized I threw those books on the top. Why do that? Alright, so I gotta do this. Alright, so bear with me for a second here, because I just realized I messed up. Okay, so I don't know why I even put this here. Well, good thing I stacked them all in the same spot. And then we just have the silencer, which we need to put before Suicide Squad, right? Yes. Okay. Because I gotta go through these again and do the out of 10 review. Justice League International Volume 1 felt the exact same as we always have. It's just decent. It's a nice little palate cleanser. It's not gonna break any new ground. It's just there. It kind of exists. It's just the kind of like, if you're just curious about it. I said something about this comic. It was a perfect way to describe it when I was first going over these books. But it's just like standard. Very, very, very standard superhero fare. But also investing, because it is written by Dan Jurgens. He knows how to keep the reader's interest. He knows how to have almost perfect pacing. Or at least really good pacing. Titans, Volume 1 was very good. I like that it tried something different. It tried something new. And I think that plot line, the Wally West plot line, is the best of this first volume. And it would have been nice if the library had more than the first volume, and still they have, unfortunately. Far Sector, much better. Much better. The third time is the charm. I was actually invested and excited to read the next issue, which is a lot. Which is saying a lot, because the last two times, especially the second time, I was thinking of dropping it as like a stack of potatoes, like I did with Top 10. So far, Top 10 I dropped. I'm annoyed with that. There's Alan Moore being Alan Moore, like he is with Tom Strong, that kind of Alan Moore. The Promethea Armstrong, ABC Tom King, Alan Moore. I just don't like it. I just don't like anything by him that isn't Watchmen. Even V for Vendetta, I wasn't a huge fan of. Swamp Thing, I read the first issue they give away as a DC $1 comic. I really liked that. Honestly, I would say if I was able to finish that series, that would be my favorite Alan Moore comic. But I haven't been able to. Because the library doesn't have the whole entire series, and no, I don't know why. Big name, big series. Why? Big name, big series, popular series. Why isn't it there? Don't know. Tales from the Outerverse and Lady Baltimore both get about the same rating. They're both much better than were the first time around, but still some awkward pacing here and there. Uneven pacing, but not wholly uneven. For the most part, it is investing. For the most part, it kept my interest. I know I'm saying the same thing about a lot of these comics, but that's how a lot of these comics were for me. Then we have Dark Knights of Steel, volumes 1 and 2. So damn good. Again, like I'm saying with a lot of these, I like these the first time around, but I think I like them even better the second time around. One of Tom Taylor's best. If you like fantasy and you want to see what DC superheroes would be like in a medieval setting, look no further than Dark Knights of Steel. You will not be disappointed. I want more from this world. The Riddler Year 1, like I've always said, is really damn good. The 5th issue is annoying to read, but that's because it's in a different format. It's actually I can show you guys what I'm talking about. It's this format right here, where it's just this nice little aesthetic here, and that if it was more like that, then I wouldn't completely hate the 5th issue. But you have stuff like this, which is a bunch of writing, and it's like I don't want to read Riddler's Manifesto. A nice little addition to the hardcover as a little bonus to the deluxe edition, but I would be more than happy to skip it. Honestly, I was tempted to do that this time around. Alright, that, as I say, is that. We're only 19 minutes in, not bad. But to make this a Simpsons, or a sitcom length episode, like a Simpsons, have Simpsons and Family Guy, like 22 minutes on average without credits. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Because we're gonna add a little post-credits scene here of me going over the out of 10s. 5 out of 10 for Reindeer Boy. 7.5 out of 10 for Navigating with You. 7.5 out of 10 for Upgrade Soul. 6 out of 10 for Black. 8 8 out of 10 for Oswald's Body. 8.5 out of 10 for Rolling Island. 9 out of 10 for Giant Days. It is that good. 7 out of 10 for Slam. I would say 6.5. 6.5 out of 10 for Slam. Just because it's only half of it is consistently good. The second half, and one thing I do want to add, the second half is not bad. It just doubled down on a lot of what I didn't like. But it still had my likes too. It was nice. The Story Gates is a 1 out of 10. It was just any book that I wanted to drop, and any book that I am completely uninterested in to the point where I just don't care what happens, and I'm just reading it to finish it, and it's an absolute chore, gets a 1 out of 10. There's like a 1, there's some interesting things I set up, so you know what, 2 out of 10. 1 out of 10 somehow seems too low, even though I didn't like anything about that comic, except for that one little thing it sets up. But even then, I didn't care at that point. I was like, I don't even care about the one thing that sets up that's continuing on with. I just do not care. I want this to be over. 6 out of 10 for Silencer. 7 out of 10 for New Suicide Squad. 6 out of 10 for Justice League International, New 52. 8 out of 10 for Titans, Volume 1, Rebirth. 8 out of 10 for Far Sector. 7 out of 10 for both these guys. And that is Tales from the Outerverse and Lady Baltimore, the Witch Queens. Dark Knights of Steel gets an 8.5 out of 10. Honestly, I would even say, I'd go so far to say it's a 9. You know what? 9. 9 out of 10 for Dark Knights of Steel. And Diddler gets a 9.5. Yes, it is that good. And that, as they say, is that. A good amount of comics that I just reviewed, and now I can separate the ones that are personal collection books to ones that are local library. Because I want to return, might as well return them, you know? Yeah, I'm not going to get any more. Actually, there's one more that I'm going to get. I am going to get the library's copy of Ancestor, as I mentioned in my next video. What was Ancestor? Well, you'll know what that is in tomorrow's video. But even then, I still want to return some books. To have 33 items checked out, and I can return at least 10 of them, that's kind of lame to do that. Alright, but that, as I say, is that, and I'm going to end this video. 22 minutes.